Hi, this is Loci from Beta Folders. Today we'll take a look at Electron Density Puzzle 1588. We'll review how the Foldit controls work and look at a procedure for finding the best segments in the density. So to get started, let's look at the basic movement controls, or how you rotate, zoom, and move the protein. Now, as you're seeing here, if you just click on the background and drag, that rotates the protein. And Shift plus drag zooms the protein in or out. Control plus drag on the background moves the protein up and down or right and left. Now let's review the visibility controls. There's foreground and background visibility. Control plus Shift plus drag on the background adjusts the far visibility. That'll gradually cut off the parts of the protein that are farther away from you. Then Control plus Alt plus drag on the background adjusts the near visibility. And that's kind of the reverse. There's also Shift plus Alt plus drag on the background, which adjusts the far fog. So it dims the farther parts of the protein, but it doesn't hide them entirely. For electron density puzzles, you often want to focus on a particular segment, and there's a shortcut that helps you do that. So when you hover over a single segment and hit Shift plus Q, Foldit will automatically zoom in on that segment and adjust the near and far visibility. And one subtle thing about this, it will also change the center of rotation. So now that one segment is the center of the entire protein when you drag on the background. And then you can adjust the near and far visibility and the fog to get the view that you're really looking for. And we'll use this quite a bit later on. And when you're tired of that, you can either hit just Q, that's actually a lowercase q, and that'll recenter the protein on the screen and reset the center of rotation. Or on Windows, you can use the Home key, which does all of the above and resets the zoom level as well. Another area that's helpful and we'll be using is the segment info and notes. So we'll focus on one segment, and if you hover over that segment, hit the Tab key, you'll see the segment information window that has all the subscores. And unfortunately, you have to scroll on many of these to actually see the density subscore, because that tends to be last on your... And then you can enter a segment note in the notes box, and if you hit the 1 key in the selection interface or switch into notes mode in the original interface, you'll see the segment note displayed. Next area we want to look at is the electron density panel, which is what actually shows you the electron density information that you're trying to match. Here I'm using the wireframe mode, which is my favorite, and we'll look at how the various controls affect the display of the electron density information. The threshold slider is probably the most important, and that controls how much of the density you actually see. And the lower the threshold slider, the more density information you see. The higher, the less density. There are also red, green, and blue sliders that control the color of the density, and the alpha slider, which controls the brightness. If you turn the alpha down all the way, the density tends to disappear. In solid view mode, if you turn the alpha slider all the way up, the density cloud becomes almost opaque. That can be helpful in some cases. For example, it's easy to see the shape of the tryptophan sidechain here in the center of the view. And there are a couple of other view modes. There's isocontours and also grid. But generally I find the wireframe view the most useful. Every once in a while I'll use the solid view mode too. And I generally set a relatively high threshold for the density. Now we'll use the recipe print protein to take a look at some of the best scoring segments in this solution. So I'm going to start up print protein. And you'll notice there's a density analysis checkbox when there's density present, and it's checked by default. So we're just going to go ahead, click OK there, and we'll click OK on the first screen. And then we get to a special density analysis screen. And if you click in that box and do Control-A plus Control-C, that'll copy the information to your clipboard. Open up a blank spreadsheet, and you can paste that information in, and it's tab delimited, and that'll give you the density report. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you a lot of control over the formatting, so you may want to click on the section headers, do format cells or the equivalent in your spreadsheet, and select wrap text automatically. And then to look at the best segments, I'm going to select the data rows from this first density by AA section, then go up to Data, Sort. Again, your spreadsheet may vary, but most have this function. I'm going to select the column with the best density score, and I'm going to select descending order. So we'll look at the best scoring segments first. And no surprise, the first segment is tryptophan, segment 104, with a score of over 58. So I've written this little utility to help me find these segments. I just put in segment 104 and I can see it highlighted here, and I'm using the selection interface, of course. And there we go, it's tryptophan. So let's open up the segment info, and again we have to scroll down to actually see the density score, but there it is, 58. And we can rotate the protein a little bit, get it nice and lined up, adjust the near visibility. Well, that cuts away part of the side chain when we rotate, and adjust the far visibility, and get a nice view of what this segment looks like, what the side chain looks like inside the density cloud. Okay, so let's look at our runner-up segment, and that's not surprisingly going to be the phenylalanine at segment 115. So again, we'll pop into GOAT2, put in 115, and see if we can find that segment. And that one's hiding. It's kind of deep inside the protein there. There it is, 115. Again, we scroll down. A little bit hard to see there, so again we can adjust the visibility controls, but that's kind of toward the interior, as you might expect, and so that's probably about the best view we're going to get there. Then in third place, no surprise, another ring, it's tyrosine at segment 126. So we're going to repeat the process. Find segment 126, it's a nice easy one. And it looks like a nice orderly section of the protein. You can see there's a phenylalanine and the other segments there that are well fitted by the density cloud, and there's nothing just sticking out not covered by density. And if you get tired of the segment note, you can use a little trash can icon in the segment information window to hide it. Okay, next up, hydrophilic arginine, segment 131. Let's take a look. Oh, where is it? Oh, it's up there at the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Move the protein a little bit, Shift Q. And so, again, as you might expect, the arginine, hydrophilic, so it's perfectly happy, hanging off into space there. Nothing really nearby. Seems to be well covered by the density. Okay, let's go next. And our next up is methionine at segment 23. Yeah, it's a different part of the protein. Okay, it's in there somewhere. Is that it? No, it's back there. Okay, there we go. We'll readjust again. And again, that's a little bit more toward the interior, but seems to be well covered by the density. And so there is our methionine. I think we have time for one more. Well, let's take a look at asparagine at segment 25, so kind of near the methionine, but we'll go through the process anyway. Find it. We know it's hiding in there someplace. There it is. Let's take a look. There is asparagine. That's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching, and keep on folding.